Welcome into Outkick the Show. I am your fearless leader, Clay Travis. I hope all of you are having fantastic Mondays wherever you may be. Full confession, I just had to take a nap to make sure I can stay up for all of Monday Night Football tonight. Given all this time change business, I've got no idea what time it is. I am all in an uproar. I was in London, then I came back, and now we're changing time, and my kids haven't changed, and everything else. We're falling back. We're springing forward. This game's not going to end tonight until like 2 a.m., so I have no idea what time it's actually going to end. 2 a.m. on like old school clock. By the way, this show brought to you by sportsbookreview.com. Encourage you to go to sportsbookreview.com for all of your gambling and informational related needs, including right off the top, let me tell you what I'm doing for Monday Night Football. I am on the Titans +5, and I'm on the under 40. All right, are you listening closely? Titans +5, the under 40, Derrick Henry to score the first touchdown. That's what I am betting on Monday Night Football. We've got a lot to get to. Let me jump right into this off the top. I hope you listen to me and bet as much money as you could afford to bet on Alabama and also on Georgia. I told you all week long, I told you, trust me, put as much money as you possibly can on Alabama. They are going to dominate LSU. And I said, despite all these people out there who are Kentucky fans that are obsessed with telling you how good Kentucky is, the Wildcats aren't that good. More power to them for getting to 7-1. I said, trust me, Georgia is going to dominate in the Bluegrass State. And then what happened? Pure domination from both Georgia and Alabama. Neither of these covers were really ever in doubt. I also told you to take the first half over. I have been on an absolute tear in gambling so far in college football this season. We went 9-3 this week, 11-3 if you count the picks that I gave out earlier in the week in college football. We are now at 57% winners in college football this season. That is going to be tough to top. All right, 57% winners. If you had just played my numbers and kept playing my picks every week, you would be up over 40% on the season. That's why you have to respect the picks. And guess what? If I see somebody who doesn't understand how gambling works, 57% is phenomenal. Okay? 57% is like batting .380 in baseball. Okay? It's almost impossible to do. I have been over 60% before. That's like betting 400. These are incredible runs that we're on. Instead of being a bitch and sitting around and whining, just shut up and respect the picks and bet them. 57% on the season, when I've given out over 100 picks now, is really pretty ridiculously good. We're having a great year. Last year I was at 49%. This year I'm at 57%. Respect the picks. Instead of sitting around being a mosquito dick complaining, why not just shut up and bet what I tell you to bet this year? You'd be swimming in cash. You would have made so much money that you wouldn't even know what to do with it all. Instead, you're sitting around complaining. Get rich, kids. Listen to me. Okay, a couple of different things that I want to hit off the jump. I really believe this about Alabama. I think there's a strong argument to be made that Alabama is the best college football team of my lifetime. I went back and looked at the 3 best teams I can remember of my lifetime. I'm 39. I'm older than many of you. I am younger than some of you, okay? I think the average age of this show, probably something around 25, 26. I'm 39. So we're a little bit younger. So you guys don't even have the length of experience as a college football fan that I do. Let me tell you the 3 best teams I've ever seen. 1995 Nebraska. 2001 Miami, and 2004 and 2005 USC. I went back and just looked at something simple, margins of victory for those teams. And what I found was pretty crazy. 2001 Miami, won one game against Virginia Tech by only 2 points. They also won one by 11. Going back to Nebraska, 1995, that was the Tommy Frazier team that ran all over Steve Spurrier and Florida, scored 60 points in them in the national title game. I have never seen anything like it. One of the most dominant teams of my life, virtually no close games. Their games were closer than Alabama's have been so far. And the USC dynasty. USC won national titles in 04 and 05. 05 was the team that lost to good old Texas in that memorable 2006 Rose Bowl, Vince Young against Matt Leinart. That USC team played a lot more close games. Guys, we have never seen anything like this Bama juggernaut. I thought what was the most interesting about the Bama performance against LSU was it demonstrated their defense can still shut down an opponent if they need to. I think a lot of the criticism of the Alabama defense has been predicated on late touchdowns that they have given up after they've already swamped everybody. They gave up 31 points to Arkansas, some people would say. If you go deconstruct that 31, first of all, Arkansas scored with 18 seconds left, as many gamblers know. Secondly, Arkansas had a couple of cheap touchdowns there, and the game was way out of control already. And then you go look at Tennessee. Tennessee scored 21. 7 of those were scored by the defense. 2 of those were scored by the offense, basically after the game was already put away. I'm just here. When you look at all the evidence, I think that if Alabama continues to win, I think they'll dominate Mississippi State, certainly Citadel and Auburn. And I think they'll go in 12-0 with 12 straight championships. 12 straight double-digit, not 12 straight championships yet. I don't know how long Nick Saban's going to coach. With 12 straight double-digit wins. If that happens and Alabama enters into the postseason effectively with the SEC title game and then continues to dominate, 15-0 Alabama would be the first 15-0 team we would ever see. It would be the greatest college football team of my lifetime, and I'm prepared to argue probably the greatest college football team of all time. We have never seen anyone dominate like this. My 4 college teams in the playoff right now. Number 1, Alabama. Number 2, Clemson, who is also on their own dominant run. Pray for Louisville. Number 3, I would roll with Notre Dame, who's also undefeated. And in the 4 spot, I would go Michigan right now. My Outkick top 10. Let me go ahead and run through right now, and I will give you a large collection of all of these plays and what I think makes the most sense. My top 10. I just gave you my 4 playoff teams. I'll also run through quickly the playoff resumes of the teams that are contending. Georgia's in my 5 spot. Oklahoma's my 6, Washington State is my 7, West Virginia is my 8, LSU is my 9, and Ohio State is my 10, okay? What has to happen in all of these different conferences in order to get in the playoffs? Let me run you through. Alabama and Georgia are both still alive to make the college football playoff in the SEC. I believe this. I think if Alabama is 12-0 and they lose to Georgia in the SEC title game, I think that Alabama will still go to the playoff. I think that Alabama has demonstrated, if they get to 12-0, that they are beyond question one of the 4 best teams in college football. So if you're a fan of another conference, you need to be rooting against Georgia going 12-1 and winning the SEC. Because I think Bama, if they get to 12-0, is in, period. I think they could almost still be the overall number 1, even if they lost a close game to Georgia in the SEC title game. I don't think Alabama's going to lose, but that's what I would say in general. In the Big Ten, there are 2 teams still alive. Ohio State, who I believe will lose to Michigan State this weekend and end their chances. Ohio State's not playing very well right now. And Michigan, who I believe will beat Rutgers, will beat Indiana, and will roll into Columbus at 10-1. We'll win that game, and then we'll win the Big Ten title against maybe Northwestern, maybe Purdue, maybe whoever is going to end up winning the Big Ten West. Okay? So I think there are 2 teams still alive. I know. There are 2 teams still alive in the Big 12. Let me pause for a minute here and say this. Downwards horn sign. All right? If you are a Texas fan and you get to run around saying hook 'em horns this way all the time, and that is permissible, How is it impermissible to get flagged if you give the downwards hook 'em horn signs? How is your hand sign permissible and not taunting? And if somebody else does this, it is considered to be taunting. I don't get it. I think all of you Texas people complaining about it need to stop being such pussies. This is the truth, all right? If you can do this to argue that your team is awesome, hook 'em horns, then the opponents can do this and not have to worry at all about the fact that they're going to get flagged for it. I loved the play call from West Virginia. The final moments were like an NCAA tournament game where you get all those different timeouts. West Virginia came out with one look. Tom Herman took a timeout. West Virginia came out with another look, hit David Sills on a quick slant, and right before that two-point conversion success, Texas took a timeout again. They then dropped their safety to guard against Sills being able to run that slant, and as a result, West Virginia went with their third different two-point conversion play and scored on that two-point conversion play with Will Grier. I loved everything about that play call and everything about breaking down that scenario. West Virginia, as a result, is still alive. They are still alive for the college football playoff, as is Oklahoma. If you are a college football fan, what you should be rooting for, I believe, is for Oklahoma to be 10-1, West Virginia to be 10-1, and the Friday night after Thanksgiving for all of us to be able to kick back, put our feet up, relax, have some drinks, and watch West Virginia host Oklahoma in Morgantown. That would be a phenomenal game. In the Pac-12, the only team still alive is Washington State, but my God, what an unbelievable coaching job Mike Leach has done. If the Pac-12 officials don't screw up the USC game, Washington State might well still be undefeated. Notre Dame is looking good. They have Florida State this weekend. Next weekend they get Syracuse. Weekend after that they go to USC. I think Notre Dame is in, even if they lose a game. Honestly, because of the way this all is breaking down. That is the college football playoff picture. ACC, the only contender, is Clemson. Like I said, my four right now, as we come up on week 11 of the college football season, whatever week it is of the college football season, my four: Alabama 1, Clemson 2, 3-spot Notre Dame, 4-spot is Michigan. My 5 next team up is Georgia. If you're looking there and thinking about chaos scenarios, I wrote all about it in the Outkick top 10. Let me give you by the way, give props to Missouri. They did to Florida this weekend what I thought they were going to do to Kentucky last weekend. Missouri, big-time win. Let me give you my SEC power rankings, 1 for 14. Alabama 1, Georgia 2, LSU 3, Kentucky 4, Florida 5, Mississippi State 6, Auburn 7, Texas A&M 8, South Carolina 9, Missouri 10, Ole Miss 11, Vanderbilt 12, Tennessee 13, Arkansas 14. Let me go ahead and tell you what's going to happen in the midterms, which are happening tomorrow. I am going to go vote tomorrow. I have not voted yet. In the interest of full disclosure, I don't try and run and hide. I tell you guys exactly what I'm doing. I am voting for Carl Dean, the Democrat, for governor. He's a former law professor of mine at Vanderbilt. I like him. I think he would do a good job. And I am voting for Marsha Blackburn in the Tennessee Senate race because I want to send a message to the Senate Democrats that I thought their behavior on the Judiciary Committee was despicable. I probably would be voting for Phil Bredesen if not for the Senate Democrats' performance in the Judiciary Committee during the Kavanaugh hearings. That bothered me to such a tremendous amount. As a moderate, middle-of-the-road voter, I thought the absence of recognition for what matters in terms of presumption of innocence, in terms of just using facts as opposed to outlandish claims with no substantiation at all. And so as a result, I am voting for Marsha Blackburn over Phil Bredesen. And I think there are lots of people in the state of Tennessee who are doing the same. So I think that is going to be a big message that gets sent in the Senate, where I anticipate Republicans will pick up some seats. I anticipate that Donald Trump will lose in the House, that the House Democrats will pick up some seats, and that will actually be the most ideal scenario, honestly, for Donald Trump running in 2020. I think he's going to play right into Donald Trump's hands. I think what is going to happen is Nancy Pelosi and the House Democrats are going to behave in such an outlandish fashion for the next 2 years against Donald Trump and the Republicans that it's going to allow Donald Trump to win again in 2020, because they are going to match his craziness with even more insanity. And so I believe this is what is going to happen. Save you a little bit of trouble. Still stay up late. I'll enjoy watching all the election results come in. My early predictions for competitive states. Are you ready? I think Bill Nelson is going to survive in the Senate. I think he is going to win in Florida. I think Hawley is going to win in Missouri. Heidecamp is going to lose to Kramer in North Dakota. I think that Donnelly is going to lose to the guy who's running against him in Indiana based on the most recent numbers I have seen. I think the Republicans will flip a seat in Nevada. Heller will lose, I believe. I think that in the state of Arizona, the Democrats will keep that seat in Arizona. Tennessee, Marsha Blackburn's going to win with ease. Ted Cruz is going to win with ease over Beto O'Rourke. And I don't believe they're any more uncertain. I think Tester will survive in Montana. So those are all of the Senate races. Manchin will survive in West Virginia. I believe that's all of the competitive Senate seats. When all is said and done, my prediction is that the Republicans are going to pick up 2 seats. I think the Republicans will pick up 2 seats when all is said and done, and that is my prediction overall. Georgia governor, I think Kemp will win. Florida governor, I think Gillum will win. Any other questions? New Jersey, I think Menendez should lose, but I think he will win. And that is that's the breakdown. Democrats winning the House won't change very much, I don't believe. It'll just embolden the crazy identity politics laden social media taking their lead from aspect of the Democratic Party, which will isolate them even more and leave Donald Trump opportunities to win in 2020. So that is my breakdown, my prediction of all of the midterm elections. All right, Monday Night Football. In Mississippi, the Republicans are going to win. Monday Night Football. I said it right off the top. Let me say it again right here. Monday Night Football tonight. Bets that I would place. I am on the Titans +5. I am on the under 40. And I am also on Derrick Henry to be the first player to score a touchdown. Great stat that I have for you that I saw shared on social media. A couple of different stats that I think are pretty fantastic. NFL stats that came out of yesterday's game. This is wild. Every quarterback aged 36 plus won in Week 9. Brady had a perfect passer rating in the fourth quarter versus Green Bay. Drew Brees, 29th game with 300-plus passing yards, 4-plus passing touchdowns, most in the Super Bowl era. Phillip Rivers' longest active streak of 2-plus pass TD games, got 9. And Ben Roethlisberger, first quarterback with a passing touchdown, a rushing touchdown, and a punt in a game since John Elway in 1989. Brady is 41, Drew Brees 39, Phillip Rivers 36, and Ben Roethlisberger 36. Eli Manning is 37, but fortunately for this stat, he was on a bye week. But this is another great stat out there that I want to hit with you. Le'Veon Bell, in 2017, through 8 games, 979 total rushing yards. That's Le'Veon Bell, and 122 yards per game he was averaging. 3.9 yards per carry, 5 touchdowns. In 2018, James Conner, his replacement. You want to talk about how running backs can be overvalued? James Conner had 1,085 total yards rushing and receiving, 136 yards per game, 4.7 yards per carry, and 10 touchdowns. James Conner, through 8 games, making, I think, like $800,000 a year, has outperformed Le'Veon Bell, who is scheduled to make $14 million this year. If you ever question whether or not there was a substantial amount of value put into running backs, which is way too much. First head coach to be fired, Vance Joseph at the top of the list for the Broncos at +400. Next head coach, to be fired, Dirk Cutter at +450. Todd Bowles at +500. All of those are your favorites. This is also an additional stat that I thought was pretty wild. Potential college football national championship game spreads. I said Alabama was my one. I said that Clemson was my 2, that Notre Dame was my 3, and Michigan was my 4. These lines are out. This is courtesy of Bovada. This is wild. Alabama would be favored by 21 points over Notre Dame, okay? They would be favored by this neutral field. Alabama would be favored by 14.5 over Michigan, and Alabama would be favored by 9 points over Clemson. Those odds tell me this. We have never seen anyone that would be this dominant of an amount of favorite over everybody else at the very top of college football. Again, if the college football playoff title game were today and Vegas were setting these odds, Alabama would be a 3-touchdown favorite over Notre Dame. They would be a 14.5-point favorite over Michigan, and they would be a 9-point favorite over Clemson. In a one-game situation, it doesn't guarantee that Alabama is going to win because anything can happen in 60 minutes. It does mean, my God, they are a massive favorite, the likes of which we have never seen in the history of college football before. All right, I got to go do my television show. I'm the king. I get to put on the crown on Lock It In with Todd Furman, Rachel Bonetta, and Cousin Sal. I will be on in 25 minutes there. Love all of you. I will talk about James Carville and ESPN tomorrow. I don't have time to hit it today. And look, some of you are idiots, all right? Some of you are idiots. You say, well, they said the same thing about X game. Do you understand how probabilities work? Let me pause here for a second. College football fans, I think, are uniquely stupid about what happens in games. One-game settings, anything can happen, okay? Just because an underdog wins doesn't mean the underdog is better, okay? Upsets happen all the time. People who are fans of other sports understand this. If you play a best-of-7-game series against the Golden State Warriors, you might win a game against them. The New Orleans Pelicans did. They got beat in the series 4-1. It doesn't mean the Pelicans are better. It means on that particular game, they ended up being better. In college football, because you don't have very many rematches, people don't recognize how often a one-game setting cannot reflect what would happen if they played 60 minutes, or 600 minutes, or 6,000 minutes. One-game settings, crazy things can happen. The Patriots lost to the Giants in the Super Bowl. It doesn't mean the Giants were a better team than the Patriots. It means that particular 60-minute subset, things went the Giants' way. Bama might lose. It doesn't mean that Bama's not the better team. It just means in a one-game setting, anything can happen. That's my argument, by the way, for everybody out there who would say, well, why do you say there's no point in rooting in the NBA because the Warriors are going to win the championship, but you don't say the same thing about Bama? Because in a one-game setting, anything can happen. If the Warriors had to win multiple one-game playoffs in order to win the championship, I would watch because anything might happen in a one-game setting. Nobody, in my opinion, is going to beat the Warriors in 4 games out of 7 in a series. And so, as a result, I think the NBA is infinitely more predictable because the best team has to be beaten 4 times as opposed to beaten once. Makes total sense, right? Think about it. Use your brain more often. Think a little bit more. My name is Clay Travis, DBAP, unless it's SBAP. We'll talk about the Titans and the Cowboys game early tomorrow morning on Outkick the Coverage, my radio show. And I want to thank you guys. I know some of you are watching in LA right now. In the past year, we're blowing up everywhere. Our ratings have skyrocketed in radio everywhere. But crazily, we are up 640% over last year in LA. It's an amazing stat. I didn't even know it was possible. My name is Clay Travis. This has been Outkick the Show. Kisses, boys and girls. I'll see you guys tomorrow.